There's so much information out there about scalp care, products, what you should do, shouldn't do, you're doing this wrong, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And I'm just going to break it down super simple because we get away from basics really easily in this world. We overconsume, what works for one person doesn't work for another, and all that kind of stuff. Hi, I'm Annie, and my job here on the internet is to make your hair your favorite accessory. Today is another part of our Getting Our Healthiest Hair in 2025 series, and it is all about scalp care. So I'm gonna be really focusing on why the scalp is so important, scalp types, and how to properly take care of your scalp, all right? So let's get into it. Our scalp health is so important for healthy hair growth, okay? Our scalp is just an extension of our face skin. So think of it that way. We're so mindful and intentional of how we take care of our face. We need to also be taking just as much importance and mindfulness when we're washing our scalp. Taking care of your scalp can really help with excess shedding, hair thinning, and just have healthier hair overall. Your scalp can also indicate issues and imbalances within your body. So if you have like a really oily scalp, that could just be something internally that you might need to get looked at. And also if there's something happening on your scalp, it could reflect internally as well. Those are really rare cases, but I just wanted to put that out there. So if you feel like there is a really big issue, of course, go see a dermatologist and a doctor and everything like that. But just keep that in mind. Most people won't have these problems. Most of the time, this won't be an issue for people. It's just, this is your scalp type and you just gotta learn to work with it. Some common scalp issues is dandruff, which is overproduction of yeast that isn't being properly broken down and it's just causing a buildup and getting those flakes. Psoriasis, which is an autoimmune condition that causes really dry, flaky patches on the skin. So if you have it on your body, you probably have it on your scalp, or you could. Seborrheic dermatitis, I hope I say that right, but that's just severe flaking and itching of the scalp, which can be caused by a lot of different things. And contact dermatitis, which is usually a result of using a certain type of product that you're allergic to or just have a reaction to some of the ingredients in it. Now let's dive into the different types of scalp types. All right, and the first scalp type is an oily scalp. This is pretty obvious, but a lot of people think that if they have an oily scalp, it's like a major issue. Not really, it's just normal, okay? It's a normal scalp type and it's pretty much also stems from puberty. So if back in the day you had really oily scalp, you probably are just gonna have an oily scalp for the rest of your life, unfortunately, due to like the hormone changes and everything like that. But also, since our scalp is an extension of our skin, you probably, if you have an oily scalp, have a more oily face, like around the T-zone. And so that is a really good indication of if you have an oily scalp. Other characteristics of a oily scalp is that your hairline gets pretty greasy even after you just wash it. Also, if you notice that even after you wash it, it feels okay for a little bit, but then about like 8 to 24 hours after washing, it either feels itchy and starts to look a little greasy. That's an indicator. Also, if your scalp feels itchy and uncomfortable, you probably have an oily scalp. I want to bust a myth that if you continuously wash your hair and wash it frequently, that you can cut back on how much oil your scalp produces. And that is not correct. If anything, that can have the reverse effect. Okay, so if you notice that your scalp is oily and you have to wash it every 2 days, then wash your hair every 2 days. Don't either try to prolong it because that can lead to clogged hair follicles, which will lead to no hair growth, hair thinning, hair shedding, all that kind of stuff. So just figure it out. Do you have an oily scalp? Do you need to go 2 days and then wash it? If you do, that is fine. It is normal to have an oily scalp, okay? But if you feel like it is very oily, go see a dermatologist and get your hormones checked out, your blood work, all that kind of stuff. There are actually some things that you can do like treatment wise. You can get like Botox, or people who go on Accutane for acne see that they produce less oil. But I mean, that's not a fix all. It's just like, if you really can't handle it, then you could do that. They are expensive and whatever, but that is an option. But remember, an oily scalp is normal. You just gotta work with it. Okay. Now for a dry scalp, this basically means that your hair doesn't produce as much oil as an oily scalp, which obviously makes sense. And this usually means that your skin barrier is either disrupted or doesn't have enough ceramides, which is what builds up and really holds on to moisture. So if you have dry skin, like face skin, you probably have a dry scalp as well. Once again, it's not a major issue, but you just got to know how to work with it so that you don't get any of these other major issues. Some characteristics of a dry scalp is dry and itchy and feels tight, especially right after shampooing or even in the colder months. Also, chronic itchiness, patches, and sensitive spots on your scalp can indicate a dry scalp. And white or gray flakes, and not to be confused with dandruff. Dandruff is more of an oily condition. The difference is that the dandruff flakes are more of like a greasy, yellowy, and that's like the yeast that isn't being broken down from an oily scalp. And dry scalp has those white, flaky, powdery flakes, if that makes sense. If you have eczema or atopic dermatitis, you could also have that in your scalp, which you either have it present on your scalp, or if you have it on your body, it could just manifest a dry scalp in general. And the last scalp type is normal. Okay, so that's like if you don't have any of these issues, you never really notice your scalp, you can use any hair product and your scalp is like fine and you can go like 3 to 4 days without your hair getting oily, then you have a normal scalp. And good for you. Also, there's sensitive scalp, but if you have a sensitive scalp, you probably know you just got to be really careful with ingredients, and that varies from person to person of what they're sensitive to. All right, so scalp care basics. This is how everybody should be taking care of your scalp, whether you have an oily, dry, normal, or sensitive scalp. All right, it's much simpler than you think. Just implement these things and just be very mindful when you are washing your scalp. Okay, that is the main thing. We're going to be focusing on the washing part because that is where I feel like a lot of people go wrong, go astray, and don't take the time to really care for their scalp. All right, so the first one is wash your entire scalp. Okay, stop just putting on shampoo and slapping it right here. You actually need to lift up your hair, move it around, and get into underneath the sides, the crown of your head. That gets missed a lot. Okay, so you need to really move your hair and do your entire scalp. You really want to make sure that you're lathering up your shampoo. Okay, so rub it together, really get that lather going, get the bubbles. If you need help, you can use a shampoo or a scalp brush. I know that this helps with a lot of people just really getting in there, especially if you have any kind of like dermatitis or patches, because this can help like kind of lightly exfoliate. Obviously don't go crazy, but just like really help to make sure that you are lathering your shampoo and really washing your entire scalp. That's the purpose of the shampoo brush. And you want to double shampoo, especially if you have an oily scalp. Make sure you are double shampooing. Wash, rinse, repeat. We double cleanse our face. We also need to be double cleansing our scalp. You can also use a clarifying shampoo. If you use a clarifying shampoo, just use that once a week. Same with like a scalp scrub. Don't worry, in the next video, I'll be talking all about like scalp products, but double shampoo your scalp. Because the first time when you're washing, you are getting all of the product, the dirt, the oil, everything like from the environment off of your scalp. And then the second time is where you're really cleansing to make sure that it is clean, that it has a good environment for hair follicles to grow healthy hair. Next is to rinse thoroughly. Okay, I feel like sometimes, especially if you have like a lot of hair, we sometimes, me included, tend to miss places when we're rinsing out the shampoo. You need to once again lift up your hair and just make sure that you are really rinsing your scalp and getting everything off. If you miss patches, you can have irritated scalp, you can have clogged hair follicles, product buildup, all this kind of stuff. It's like, okay, I washed my hair, I did everything right, but you're not rinsing it off correctly. That can also be an issue. You need to check your water quality. Okay, where I live in West Texas, our water is terrible. Like, we need to have a water softener and like a filter of some sort. And so really check your water. If you don't want to get like a whole system for your house, which it's so expensive, so I don't blame you, you can get a shower head filter. I just get mine off of Amazon. It does help. Some people say it doesn't help, whatever, but like 30 bucks from Amazon, why not give it a go and give it a try? I have found that it has helped a little bit. Now it doesn't get everything out of our water because like I said, our water is terrible, but that's something that you should check and maybe look into. Keep your shower short, not only for the water quality issue, but water in general, and like especially if it's like really hot, because who wants to take a cold shower? Nobody, even though people are like, oh, take a cold lukewarm shower. Sorry, no. But really hot water is not good for any part of your skin. So keep your head out from underneath the shower head for as long as possible, especially also if you have poor water quality. This will just help like the minerals from the bad water not be sitting on your scalp for so long. Use the right shampoo. Now you can use a clarifying shampoo, a scalp scrub. If you have more of like dandruff issues, you could use a dandruff shampoo. We'll talk about more scalp products in the next video. Just find a shampoo that works really well with your hair type and scalp type. Sometimes for dry scalp, a hydrating shampoo isn't necessarily needed. It's more of like things that you can do prior to shampooing, which we'll get into in the next video. So that might either seem like super overwhelming, but if you think about it, it is really simple. Just wash your scalp really, really good, double shampoo, make sure you're rinsing it out really good, and checking your water quality. Let me know if you learned anything in this video and if you have any other healthy scalp tips. And in the next video, I'll be talking about some other scalp care products. So make sure that you stay tuned for that and subscribe. But if you have any other recommendations for dry scalp, itchy scalp, oily scalp, anything like that, feel free to leave it down below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.